Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. Of course, you guys must be here to talk about the new episode of Andor. Cassian Andor, to be specific. And my God, it's evolved into quite a bit of a spectacle, if you catch my drift. I'm sorry, I was going to say that other voice I was talking about right before. I'm kind of glad I caught myself, Bern, I'm not going to lie. And then it morphed into my Luthen voice.
I'm glad you went with the Luthen voice. I'll just say that.
Oh my God. That would have been bad for everybody. But anyways, guys, of course, this is another spoiler episode. So if you haven't seen this episode, come on back, dive into the spoilers with us. And of course, do not forget to give us a like to show your support. Ring the bell to stay up to date on all our when we drop our videos, and of course press that big old subscribe button because it's great to keep growing the ranting community. Man, again, Andor is one of the few shows I feel like continues to excel. I don't feel like there's really been. I mean, it had a couple slow episodes for the most part, more build up, but honestly, it stayed consistent, and this is just getting more and more interesting. Like this is almost like such a deviation from his character in Rogue One. Like it's like, how did he get to become such a like a rebel leader? How did he get to his point in the rebellion, especially with shit like this? Just because we see he's done with the mission and he tries to just make his way. He's not trying to be any part of it anymore. He actually kind of finds it very ridiculous. So I mean, we kind of saw that with like the last few episodes. There was really no love for the rebellion, but I thought he was going to get to a point where he was going to read Nemec's not manifest, his
manifesto.
Manifesto, yeah, I guess manifesto, yeah. It didn't sound right to me saying it, but yeah, like I thought he was gonna start reading that, and that's when he can kind of find himself. But even then, when he's on that one planet, like that vacation planet essentially, which is at like a beach essentially, I thought that was kind of a moment where he's in the shower, kind of counting some credits, and even he had that face of like, I don't know what I'm doing here. This doesn't feel right either. Like he's just not happy no matter what he's doing. So I don't know. What did you think about that, Bern?
Yeah, I mean, I think what this episode is, what it's trying to accomplish is, showing us the aftermath of what happened, in last week's episode. It's showing us the different factions and how they're responding. And with Cassian, with how the way he left the group at the end of last episode, basically taking his cut of the money and running. He's refusing the call to action again. Like this is him trying to just make out with money and live his own life. But we see quickly that he is unable to do that. By whether by him making decisions or just the world around him reacting to it. Like there's no escaping from this thing that he's done. Like this heist has had ramifications across the Empire and across the galaxy. And like you said, even when he's on this, this like basically Star Wars version of Cabo, like when he's off the grid and like living his own life, he can't escape, what's going on with the Empire. And like now that they're starting to over police and like extremely overreact to the situation, it's like, yeah, like, dude, like you may not want to be a part of it, but it's gonna find you in some certain way. So I did really like seeing that sort of trajectory, like for his character, because yeah, like even by the end of last week's episode, he's not in the rebellion. He's not that character that we saw in the beginning of Rogue One. So to sort of track that and to see how he comes upon finally answering the call, it's going to be interesting to see. But I think this was a very necessary at least like character moment for him to realize that there's no running away from this, that he has to either be all in or he's going to be under the boot of the Empire. So yeah, this is all really great character stuff for him especially, and then for everyone else that I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the one time he's definitely, I think he's felt the most alone, because when he tried to go back for Marva, yeah, played by Fiona Shaw, which I finally remember her name from, because I started rewatching Harry Potter. I'm like, man, she still looks the same, basically.
Yeah, I mean, are you sure she wasn't a wizard? Because Aunt Petunia looks exactly the same.
Seriously, almost ageless. But their scene was one of the most emotional scenes I've seen on some of the shows in a while, where he's ready to go. He's got the credits. He paid off Ardia Arjona's character. I forgot her name, but basically is like
Bix, right?
I think it's
Yeah.
Bix. Yeah, he paid her off because a lot of people on Ferrix resent him for what happened. Basically he brought the trouble here. When it's like, I think you guys are looking at the wrong person. Bix's boyfriend was the one who brought them here and caused all this shit because he's a snitch, but he's dead now, and she's feeling bad about it. But that one exchange with him and Marva, that she's like, I'm not going. I'm too old, and this is the first time I actually feel like we're making a difference. That the Empire is finally realizing the people are a force to be reckoned with. And I had a really great flashback too, where he was younger. We see Clem, the other guy that was with Marva, to come like basically take him away from that planet he was growing up on or something like that, because they knew the Republic was going to kill him. We see those old school Republican. I don't know if they were clone troopers still. I think they were, but when they were just basically like basically before the clone. How am I putting this? He was trying to stop people from like throwing rocks and stuff at him, but the stormtroopers stopped. The clone troopers stopped and just, you can tell they end up kind of shooting him or punishing him for it, and that was a really good scene. But basically, it just showed that Marva's like, I'm ready to fight now. Now that I know that there is hope and that there's something out there, and so that's what I was saying, like how he's feeling like really like down in that Cabo planet. It's just one of those things. I think he does feel guilty. He's like, I should have stayed with her and fight, or maybe I should have stayed with the rebellion. And speaking of that, go ahead, Brent.
Well, no, I mean, just to add on to your point, that yeah, like this was an unintended consequence of his actions. Like he thought, okay, I'm just gonna get this money and run, pay off my debts and disappear. But now, like, people are looking at this around the galaxy, seeing it like as the first big action against the Empire, and people like Marva are starting to get more emboldened to wanna to fight back. They're inspired. They feel like, okay, now we have a fighting chance, to get this oppressor off of our backs. So yeah, like him wanting to just take her and run away, and her refusing that is like, it's another one of those things where it's like he can't keep running away from this. He has to embrace it, and he has to become a part of it, like an integral part of it at some point. So this was just one of those moments for him, and again, it's we're only seeing it with her character, but I'm sure this is going on across the galaxy. People are seeing this, and people are being inspired, and that's sort of what Luthen's plan was from the beginning, to get this to be like the spark that lights the fire. To use a quote from The Last Jedi, it's like, yeah, like this is the beginning. It's just starting now.
True, and again, Luthen is definitely kind of brought out the dark side of the rebellion this time, where with that whole emergency meeting with the Empire, like Deidre's like the council that Deidre's in, the ISB, and also people have been pointing out that guy with the white stash, he was a big imperial figure from Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Clone Wars, which I don't remember from Clone Wars, and he was one of the background dudes in A New Hope, where they're all like, some of those officers are meeting in the Death Star, and there's that one guy who's like standing up to Vader, like, this is now the ultimate power in the universe. He's the dude in white sitting next to him, so he's been an old school imperial figure for decades, essentially. So I thought that was kind of a cool like call out, and very like kind of proud of the fans for picking that out. I think his name was Wolf. Oh my god, I can't think of it right now. I had it. I was looking at it earlier. Such a weird name, but
I mean, that's a deep cut. I didn't even notice that, so I'll have to go back and check that out. But that's a good find by whoever discovered that, because it went over my head completely.
you gotta love Star Wars fans, man. Love them or hate them, they'll find out this stuff hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
And with their reaction, like basically, yeah, like you said, doubling the over policing they're already doing. It's just, and then Luthen meeting Mon Mothma, going to Luthen and just saying, "You did this," is like, I told you I couldn't wait. And she's like, "I've been doing everything I can." He's like, "Yeah, he's basically saying, yeah, your money isn't good enough. We had to do this job to get the rebellion moving, but the consequences, because of the over policing, it's gonna cause a lot of havoc and a lot of like trouble for just the regular people of the galaxy," and that's what Mon Mothma is arguing for. But again, it's not necessarily Luthen's fault. It's really just the Empire, trying to keep everybody under their boot.
Yeah, like he's planning for them to overreact, to double down on their fascist tendencies, and the people are going to suffer because of it, but that is also going to lead to people wanting to rebel against them. The harder the empire is going to push, the more people are going to want to push back. Like he's saying, like the empire has been slowly choking us over the years, taking away like certain freedoms little by little, but now this full on overreaction that they're going to do is playing into the hands, like people are going to fight back against that, because now the empire is really really showing their face.
Yeah, I mean, you think they wouldn't have shown it enough already, but I think, yeah, he's basically expecting a reaction from people to grow the rebellion, get it going. Um, and then we see his assistant. I forget his assistant's name too, but how she's kind of
Clea,
going.
I believe. Clea,
Clay or
Clea or
Clea,
Claire, something like that.
because Deidre's spelled with one E, and then so is Clea or Clea. But I don't know. And I'm not a grammar person. I'm not an English major. I apologize. Um, I guess I could be a moron if I don't know that. Um, how she's going through Coruscant to meet up with Vel, who looks all fancied up. It's like, oh man, Luthen and her clean up well when they have to go to Coruscant, put a face on for the Empire. And that's when she basically gives the order, like, yeah, you got to find Cassian and kill him because he's a loose end. And then after she's like, oh, well, my condolences for your team. She's like, that's it? Like, kind of almost asking, like, we're supposed to be the rebellion. Shouldn't we care about people more? But, like, Luthen and her and Clea are essentially like, there's bigger shit than just people. I'm sorry. We got the rebellion to worry about. It harkens back to Rogue One, where they're basically, it's like a danger close trying to kill off Jyn Erso's dad. What was it?
Galen.
Oh yeah, Galen. Yeah, Galen Erso. I was getting mixed up for a second, but killing off her dad while the rebels are like Cassian and his team are still there. So it's like, man, the rebellion is just kind of desperate. Like they've always been the desperate underdog throughout this whole saga of the Skywalker series, where they're just trying to get the upper hand on the Empire.
Well, I had a question. Like, what was your read on this scene? Do you think Clea was like acting independently of Luthen, or do you think Luthen gave her the kill order on Andor?
Mm, Goddamn, Bernie, you had some good questions like the last couple of shows we've been talking
Because
about.
it's the things that I'm asking myself too. Just because of how much like trouble Luthen went into recruiting in Andor. Like it seems like it would be a weird decision for him to want him to just wipe him off the board like that. I don't know what you thought of it, because I don't think we got a scene, right, of him telling her like go do this thing.
No, but at the same time, Luthen is worried about the rebellion as well. However, if you really think about the conversation before, where he's worried about the team and it going well, she was the one who's like, "You pick the team. We're expecting this to go wrong, so you got to be ready. Like shit's gonna go sideways." So I'm, I feel like she's the one who's very cutthroat with the rebellion. So maybe it could have been her just like, I got to make this decision because Luthen's a little soft too, even though he made this big jump with Aldani and all that stuff. It's a little unclear, I mean, maybe Luthen really is maybe he's just a shady person. He knows how to play both sides, kind of thing, like be a good rebel, but also just, hey, business is business. So that's a little hard to tell right
Yeah,
now.
it is an interesting
But
development though. Like she's not just an assistant. She's like it seems like an equal partner in this. Like the whole assistant thing, it's just part of the cover. It looks like, because if she's
yeah,
going and acting independently, and the way she talks to Luthen, it's like no, they're more on equal footing than we've been led on to believe. I think up to this point.
yeah, absolutely. And um, Mon Mothma, man, I do feel that I kind of feel a little bit bad for her because she's just kind of in the middle of a rock and a hard place. Luthen and that situation going on that she really had no say in with Aldani, and then just at her party, being surrounded by all these, imperial figures and stuff, these high people in the Empire that she can't stand. But then there's that one dude. I've only seen him in Speed Racer. I don't know the actor's name, but that one friend. I'm hoping that guy doesn't betray her. But at the same time, you're in the middle of the Empire. Like he may be cool with you, maybe an old friend, but I think she was kind of feeling him out that conversation by slowly telling him bits and pieces that I'm trying to start the rebellion. I need your help. So maybe almost like plausible like information that she can deny, no problem. I don't know. I just thought that was a very interesting conversation they had in the middle of this, dinner party, essentially. This dinner party.
Yeah.
As soon as I said I had to do it, the hands.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this whole conversation was very well done because we do see, like, in her conversation with Luthen, like, she is starting to get, like, a little bit cold feet, now that this rebellion is being set in motion, like, it's all of a sudden real now for her. And she's never been, like, a part of this, this sort of, like, thing where it's like, okay, now we're taking action. We're not just moving funds anymore. We're actually, taking the fight to the Empire. So, it like for her to be nervous in the beginning of it, it is understandable, like she's just, a politician. She's not a freedom fighter yet. But we get to see like what she's really, made of in this scene and how, she interacts with her old friend, like, this coded talking and like how she's maneuvering the conversation to like say just enough information to get the point across, but not enough, like you said, to basically sell her out. She's got plausible deniability here with this guy in the event that he is not, like the person that he says he is, and is not a true, like, because, in this conversation, it does seem like he does have some disdain for the Empire and doesn't really like them a whole lot. But, we don't know if that's like him truly talking or if it's one of those things where he is working for the Empire and trying to suss out some possible rebellions. But I mean we'll see soon enough. But I hope it's the case that he could be part of the inner circle. But yeah, there's just the amount of like nervousness I had of like her confiding in him. I was like, oh man, this can go south like really fast. Like I hope like she knows what she's doing in this situation.
Hopefully so. But the rest of the season will have to tell. The other great, I think, the other crazy character moment, and I want to talk about my two favorite moments in this episode, was with Cyril, where, man, that guy keeps getting just the brunt end of the stick. I don't know if this is his journey to really hate the Empire. I would at this point, because, man, they're just putting him in the crappiest spot. That whole giant room of these cubicles. And I was thinking about that this whole episode, is that everywhere, like at Coruscant or wherever they're at in the Empire, everything is nice and clean. It's very plain, but people are walking in single file lines. It's just very depressing and so very dystopian. It's almost like with situations like that, you think, no, it's great, it's a utopia. It's like, not really. It's the very opposite. So I just the cinematography with this show is just spot on every time. I think this is one of the best shot Star Wars, actually just series in general. Really sells the story. And just stuck at a cubicle, checking I think fuel lines or something, like checking the purity of fuels. And I was like, fuck, you went from a cop to basically just a gas guy. Of course, I was the Empire. Oh, the Empire, gas guy. Oh my god, you're a fucking janitor. Like, I just gotta thought of that Tropic Thunder moment with him, and at the end, that one shot of him just kind of being a robot just totaling away with the nozzles and stuff. I'm like, fuck, man. I'm definitely kind of starting to feel bad for the guy a little bit. He's a bit of a scumbag, but shit, his soul is just broken at this point.
Yeah, I mean, what the show has done with his character and Deidre's character in particular has been very interesting because they're sort of like getting us to root for them in a sort of way. They're being put in these like underdog positions where it's like, man, they're really like down and like they're working against like the bureaucracy of the Empire and how its society works. So to see them like in their low points and like trying to work their way up, it's almost like, again, like we like a good underdog story. We like seeing people work against the mold and succeed. But the fact that it's two characters that are working within the Empire, it's like, dang, like it's really conflicting, like emotions and stuff. So yeah, when we get that shot of like him working a desk job, it's just like, man, like we, like, even us, we're like, he doesn't deserve to be there. Like it's like, man, like, I mean, I don't like this guy, but this isn't his reality. Like this can't be all he does.
I'm just sitting there like, I can't stand him, but I do feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Just somebody else like, I sympathize with that. Just Terrible.
It's like that coupled with
Again,
his horrible relationship with his mom is just, bro, I feel for the guy.
just great storytelling, not only through dialogue but through, the angles and the visuals and stuff. And again, I like the moment with, I guess my favorite one that just was like, I was like, ooh, was with Deidre at that meeting where Blevin, well, he's got an axe to grind, but she begs the question. He's like, I think he's looking into my stuff to protect his own like self. He's just protecting his own self. It's like, what if he's a rebel officer embedded in the Empire, and that's why he's like, oh, I'll take control of Aldhani, I'll do this, all that. Maybe like even though it's over police, but he's playing the part. I don't know. It's probably not like that, but it could very well go into that. And how Deidre's so dead set on this, and man, she covered her ass so well in that argument. Just like, I've been doing this, I've uncovered rebel, like she's basically, I've uncovered rebel codes and their ways of what they're doing. Like this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going, cutting all these corners. But it also just, yeah, like you said, she's the underdog. Like that one dude she asked for discretion clearly didn't because Blevin found out. And yeah, just very pitted against. But I like that. I forgot what that dude's name. The Grand Maester from Game of Thrones.
I think it's like Major Patergast or something like that. Petrogast. It's a weird name.
For Star Wars especially, that's interesting. That he's like, oh, I wish more of my officers had that kind of enthusiasm. She's like, I'm sorry? And just, it's like, oh, well, I think she's done great. And Aldani, Morlana or something is now hers. It was a distraction for you. Move on. We're done. And that walk they had where he's just saying, okay, watch your back now, is like, ooh, he basically told her, good job, but now you're fair game. You're just like everybody else, so prepare yourself. And that was great, and I did like the, I want to say just when Andor's walking on that beach, he gets pulled over by that officer, and that stormtrooper, and we see a K2S droid, or those Imperial droids. I was like, oh, it's a K2SO, but not quite yet. It was just foreshadowing, like, oh man, his first experience with this droid is not good. So I'm sure K2SO is gonna be a droid that tried to kill him, and that's how you reprogrammed him. So I thought that was good. But now he's going to a prison for 6 years. I don't know how he's gonna get out of that one. That was a pretty good cliffhanger to hang on for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, those two moments were some of my favorites, too, from this episode. There was a lot of great character moments. But yeah, that scene with Deidre, again, is like one of those things like, yeah, we want to root for her because she's the underdog working against this, like, asshole Blevin, who's just, like, represents the corporate structure and, like, okay, just doing enough to get by. But we know that she's right, and we know that if she does succeed, she's gonna like work really like well against the rebellion. So it's like we want the rebels to win, but then like we don't want her to not win. But then it's like, damn it, like my emotions are all over the place. But we know that if she gets into higher positions of power, she is a formidable opponent for the rebellion, and because she knows, I mean, everything she says is right. So it's like, damn, like, do we really want this person to rise up in the ranks and, be the enemy of the rebellion? Like, no, we don't. But again, like, her as a character, we want to see her get one over on Blevin, so again, just really great character work with that. And yeah, like that scene at the end, like, basically, sets into stone, like, what, the overall message of this episode was, which was, Andor, he can't run anymore. Like he went to the farthest reaches, of the galaxy in this, Cabo like planet, with some random woman and, just going and living his life in luxury, it looks like. And even then, like, he can't get away from the Empire. Like, he's just standing there, and then now he's serving 6 years in prison. It's like, dude, like you can't escape this anymore. Like, you have to fight back because no matter what, it's gonna find you. Again, it found you here. It's gonna find you anywhere.
I mean, if this doesn't light his ass on fire, I don't know what would. So we'll have to see what happens with the next one. Anything else that caught your eye or anything like that, Ben?
No, I mean, we touched on it briefly, just the stuff with his his surrogate father, Clem, like, just like seeing like what that backstory was, and maybe that's sort of like what's playing into his reluctance to do anything against the Empire. To see like again, they were the Republic at that point, but maybe to see like his like surrogate father being hanged for doing nothing but trying to like stop like a riot. It's like, dude, like yeah, I can see him not wanting to join the fight like willingly, but again, everybody around him is like pushing him in that direction. So again, that was a really like interesting character moment and a very like sad flashback to see like what went down with his surrogate father.
Yeah, although I mean this is horrible, but I will say the clone trooper era was one of the coolest ones for all those stormtroopers and stuff before they became stormtroopers. Mm-hmm. So I'm always a clone trooper look fan. But other than that, yeah, another just ball out of the park episode. Great stuff. I can't wait for next week. Guys, let us know in the comments. Did you love this episode as much as we did? Are you kind of bored by it? We would love to know. Keep the conversation rolling, please. Of course, guys, we do got Black Adam coming out this weekend, so stay tuned for that review, as well as more House of the Dragon. That is going to finish up this week
finale.
For season 1. Which is crazy shit that it's already ending. But we still got a few more episodes of Andor, so stay tuned for that. And we got a couple more things coming at you guys, so stay tuned. And as always, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for the both of us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.